See, in my hag video, I mentioned that the reason why people like hags is that they are much more chill, knows how to pull you into conversation, they have less bullshit. The appeal of the hag is universal. For a person looking to get an ara mommy experience, you will get your fill. To people looking for streams that have an air of confidence and healing, you will also get your fill. To people looking to drown themselves in absolute milkers, you will also get your look. I'm not going to pretend that Nina was one of my Oshis. I did like her from the collabs from the 10 or so streams that I watched in her channel. But I will say that Nina did have that hag aura. She put herself out there, reaching out and turned people into her friends or good acquaintances via the power of sheer vibes. In fact, scrolling down her entire stream catalog, one would realize that her most prominent content forms are all just chatting streams and collabs. To viewers, she was generally comfy. You can let your guard down. It seemed like everyone in a GN did actually let their guard down around her. She just had that air of motherliness or auntiness.
She's someone who looks after everybody, and especially for Luxium, she was there when we were first added to the Niji Discord, and Nina was the first one who came and spoke to us. I think that because we were the first boys joining EN, there was a level of anxiety from the other girls before we joined, you know. There were boys joining and, you know, it felt like it was a female-only space before, and so obviously there's a pretty reasonable level of anxiety. It makes perfect sense, but Nina was the first one who jumped in VC with us, and she just made sure that we were included, and she invited us all to collabs, and she came up with so many ideas for how to make us feel included, and I'll always appreciate her for that. She calls herself unofficial mom, but I think she is the official mother of everyone in Niji.
And what didn't help was the fact that she didn't know much when it came to tech and hardware or even software. Her extroverted personality was out there. It's why her fans love her, and it's why the up-and-coming members adore her. But it's also why people hate her. See, like anything in this world, being extroverted has its downsides. Although being extroverted allows you to reach out to people, make friends, be a social go-getter, a little side effect of that is that sometimes an extroverted person struggles to recognize when they're pushing someone a little too hard or perhaps overstep their boundaries. Perhaps they made remarks or comments that, although they might think is funny banter, to the other party might be offensive or weird. And in the internet, people will always misconstrue things. People will always take the worst interpretation and the worst case scenario. While Nina's community loved her, a loud minority of the Niji EN fanbase, despite the boys all just gushing about how awesome and helpful Nina has been behind the scenes, did not. Why, you may ask? Well, there's a little document called the Nina Bitch Catalog. It's a rather infamous write-up from one or many disgruntled Niji EN fans who chronicles and links every single reason as to why they think Nina, as the title implies, is a bitch. And look, it's a lot. I don't even know where to begin unpacking this. A lot of the things listed down here, I think, can just be boiled down to her extroverted and banterful personality popping off in ways that could be misconstrued. Perhaps some of them are true and did make talents uncomfortable or offend them. Although, I think a lot of these are just schizo ramblings. And I think she did know about these sentiments.
I don't care what people say about me on the internet. Because people have said worse things to me in life. I've probably thought worse things about myself, right? For anybody who is, sitting back and disliking me right now, girl, get ready. You don't even know me yet. I've barely been streaming. I've barely been doing anything. I haven't been doing collabs. If you're hating me now, just wait till I'm a butterfly again. You're gonna really hate me then. Just wait, baby. Just wait till I'm in every freaking collab again. Remember that time when I was in every collab? Because I organized every collab? Yeah, good times. It's happening, baby. I'm gonna get back into it.
In any case, the sentiment around Nina Kosaka being quote-unquote problematic also spread in places like TikTok. And it gained a lot of traction, to say the least. That was until they got deleted, including the original write-up of the catalog. What did not help was the fact that after this sentiment was starting to spread, she expressed a little bit of grievances over what happened a few years back regarding her being excluded from the group.
Twice a week, I would be like, hey, we should maybe talk. We should get to know each other before, we don't really know each other, blah, blah, blah. They kept telling me that they were busy and they couldn't make the call. And then months down the line, I found out that the three of them would voice call each other. Kind of took it personally, and I was like, and then I just started doing my own thing. They have a lot more things in common than I did with them, and I guess to them, they were like, we don't need to do a voice call. We already voice call.
Of course, it is important to note that this apparently happened when they first started. The members of Etheria, especially Millie and Enna, were already friends before, so it made sense that Nina's fitting in process was a little harder for her. It didn't necessarily represent their current or developing relationship from when she talked about this in October of 2022. But there were people who made it absolutely clear that they hated her for this. There was a trend among a certain faction of Niji EN fans who did not like Nina. Etheria, with a 3 replacing the E, 3theria, was their rallying cry of sorts. And the amalgamation of all of these, plus the fact that she didn't think she was good enough for her content, not good enough for anything, caused her to be super unsatisfied. See, Nina graduated, but when she announced her graduation, she made a heartfelt note for her fans where she expressed a sort of creative difference, that there was a gap between her and what her fellow livers were making, and what she wanted to make. She didn't perform up to her own standards, she wanted to pursue her own thing. Many people could only speculate what the statement could mean, but how would Niji-sanji be without the mommy figure? Because she was a unique one. One of those rare ara-ara mummies who didn't sexualize themselves. But the mommy that mommied. Rather, she was a hag who sold her charisma and her talking skills more than anything. The wholesome, caring mommy rather than the dick explosion sort of mommy. Although she always had that potential, she just never used it. Not yet, of course. Me personally, I thought, yeah, she's probably not dead. Going indie or something, most likely. Since Kuro joined Niji-sanji, fans have long predicted that Nina was going to follow suit, especially since her graduation letter made it seem like she was not going to quit content creation. And brother VShoujo didn't even try to hide it. They took advantage of this, in fact, and they came out swinging. Actually had Matara speak her shit on Twitter and dropped her like a nuke. And people were happy about this. People expected this. Matara Kan's joining of VShoujo meant to a lot of people, not just VTubers, not just Matara, but the entire industry. Although Keison and Nazuna was the signal to the industry at large that VShoujo will take people from their competitors, Kuro and Matara were the ones that set it in stone. See, even as Nina Kosaka, she had an interesting place in Etheria as the heart. Watch my video to find out what that is. From the outside looking in, she seemed like she was the emotional core of the group, albeit the supportive, mature kind, rather than the soft-spoken and emotive one that we're mostly familiar with. Of course, many people may see it differently, but that's personally how I saw it. She was the one who tied people together. She was outgoing, very social, super sweet, super caring, and it showed. A lot of people in and outside of Niji-sanji loved her even despite the vocal minorities whining. But because she was in an agency, there was going to be certain limitations and restrictions Nina had to face. She had to be competitive, she had to answer to someone. And for a person like Nina, that might not have been good for her, especially long-term as she states in her graduation letter. Of course, we'll never know what truly happened, the full extent of how Nina was treated in Niji-sanji. Really, what we do know is that she's surprised that VShoujo's management is actively helping her out, giving the implication that in Niji-sanji, such help was not as common. Someone like Nina needed relaxing, a not-so-stressful place where she can set her own tempo, reach out and socialize without the restrictions. Her graduation letter was more so a realization that the traditional agency setting was just not for her. I'd even go as far as going against the grain of public sentiment and say that despite the whole surprised by VShoujo manager thing, Niji-sanji didn't abuse her or anything remotely close to that. She got a lot while being here, connected her to people she otherwise might have never met, possibly gave her access to money that she otherwise would have never gotten, made her discover what she really wanted, changed in ways we'll never realize, made her the person she was when she joined VShoujo. And that last bit is crucial, because the person that she became in VShoujo was an entirely different beast. Matara Kan was in multiple aspects a sort of improvement from Nina Kosaka, performance-wise, appeal-wise, and numbers-wise. It's not a past life-related video without some number Andying. I know you guys like that. Of course, there's all sorts of reasons for this improvement. People who were filtered by Nijisanji deciding to check her out because she's now out of Nijisanji for reasons only they're privy to. She got into the side of the industry with a lot more male demographics that she would have normally been exposed since Niji-en had an overwhelmingly female audience. But I think the biggest reason is vibe. Let me explain. I explained in my V-Shoujo Redemption video that the reason V-Shoujo achieved a sort of redemption is because their vibes changed. Like, they became an overall happier, more positive place, and that's why they became much more appreciated. And Matara Kan was one of those VTubers that helped create that sort of environment. Her showcasing her gratefulness to the place and this overwhelming contagious aura of her being able to do what she wanted, without the corporate shackles stressing her out. The previously unfelt hand of Nijisanji, now very much so telling her what she can do and what she can collab with.
For those that don't know, with my previous job, I'll basically just scrape on the top of it. There was a lot of stuff on my previous job that I just didn't really want to make friends with people that weren't at my job because there was a lot of NDAs in place and there was a lot of things we weren't allowed to discuss, and you kind of didn't really know who to trust, which I get it, right? But now that I don't really have anything like that in my life and nothing, I'm not afraid to meet somebody and be like, oh yeah, I have a new outfit coming up. Do you want to see sketches? But before, it's like, I kind of can't talk about a big part of my work or my life or anything like that. So it was kind of hard to make friends outside of the group that I was in. But now I don't really have to worry about that.
It's that freedom, that nonchalantness of her past life, this very slight, subtle, but feelable shift in her demeanor in some way that is felt in her content and the way she speaks now. It made her a better VTuber somehow. And I'm just not saying this from my own biases or experience. Her numbers are the biggest evidence of this. Normally, when an ex-corpo VTuber leaves their previous company and becomes indie or goes somewhere else, their numbers usually drop all across the board. But Matara was one of the VTubers that actually did get bigger. Her live viewership more than doubling in size than it ever was when she was known as Nina. Burnout is something I don't think a lot of audiences realize takes a heavier toll on a content creator. A lot of content creators you follow are probably running on fumes, running on mere embers of their creativity. And I don't think any content creator will be able to make you understand that toll unless you become a content creator and feel it yourself. Pair that up with a place of unbelonging, being no longer happy with your content, feeling like you don't deserve your audience. VTubers have graduated for less. Content creators have quit the internet for less. I look at Matara Kan as my own personal inspiration. I'm no stranger to feeling like the end of my content creating days are nigh, or feeling unhappy with the content I make. I know every one of us understands the anxiety of an uncertain future. And it takes one hell of a bad bitch or a magnificent bastard to power through that and live regardless. To still choose to stay, and that decision ending up more than paying off. Not all of us can experience the same success and path that Matara Kan experienced. Survivorship bias and all that. Sometimes the gamble doesn't pay off. Heck, not all of us have formed the connections or acquired the resources to even have something remotely similar as she does. But looking back at stories like hers, of a lot of VTubers that have made it, I can't help but feel a little hope well within me. Maybe we will be fine. Maybe we will come out of the dark on certain days better, even. I know there's a lot of VTubers who are currently experiencing this. Those who are uncertain because their golden days are beyond them. Those who are uncertain because they'll never even experience a golden age to begin with. The numbers ultimately don't mean anything. And it shouldn't, despite you or me comparing and studying it. You may feel like your golden age are behind you, not earning as much, but if you are more free, have surged with creativity never before felt, as long as you are content, that's what matters. This is the lesson I get from Matara Kan's story. It's not the abused ex-corpo finally experiencing a good VTuber agency kind of story. And I think it's a healthy lookout that I think a lot of us need to remember.